Hi everybody, welcome to the latest episode of DasVlog. I am your host, Patrick OC, aka Shouted Sin, as the Amazon say, Arteni Shallah, Artemis to you. So today, much like the hunting goddess Artemis, or the vengeful goddess Kali, I will be talking about the treatment of gay and bisexual women, or queer women in general, in mass media. For those of you who don't know, this is known as barrier gaze. It is a trope which is done specifically generally when a gay woman falls in love or has a relationship. It tends to end badly. If you want a rough estimate, if your character, let's say you introduce a gay character into a show, she is 3 times more likely to be killed off, okay? So this began in 1976 with a character on the show known as Executive Suite. She ran out, and then she was killed by a truck after chasing after her lover. Since then, 148 gay or bisexual female characters have been killed off. This is something that is consecutive. This is not just an example. And if this was comparable to real life, we would probably be going, what? And if it was more natural, it would... I'll get into why this is a big deal. I'm pretty sure a few people who are not really tied into the queer community are probably going, why is this a big deal? Well, anyone can die. Well, I'll get to that, specifically with the Lexa pledge. But let me run some numbers for you, okay? So since 1976, there's been over, 1,500 shows, scripted shows. Roughly about 1,586 of these shows have straight characters specific to them, okay? 193 of them had queer female characters in them. Of those 193, 68% of them have dead lesbians. Okay, here's the breakdown. 68 have dead lesbians, and they're kind of, this graph kind of generalizes it. It's just saying dead lesbians. 35 of those were on shows where anyone can die, and then 12 of those actually had shows where even characters, the male characters, could die equally, of equal importance. Okay? When we break down straight versus gay TV, 89% of scripted shows are straight. Only 11% of them are queer, gay, or have specifically lesbian or bisexual characters on them. Okay? That breaks down into shows with dead lesbians to about 5%, and then the shows with no dead lesbians is about 65%. So that's of roughly the queer percentage. So then 16% of these lesbians are having happy endings in their shows. 84% have no happy endings, okay? So even if they're not dead, they don't get a happy ending. They're either written off. So if you're going, well, that doesn't seem to be a big deal. Well, okay, here's a better breakdown for you, okay? Let's take the percentage of actual gay women. So 35%, 31% of them are dead. 10% have happy endings. Another 10% get written off. 28% will be just guest characters. So they don't really matter at all. They pop in, they pop out. It's like, the killers on Law and Order. They pop in and pop out, unless you're that one weird woman on Criminal Intent who had like a long series with that one detective. Someone's probably going to correct me on that. Anyway, and then at the end, about 20% were actually alive, and then 1% had a lost love of life in the series finale. So 1%. So dead lesbians currently on air or off shows, there's about 47 guest characters, 28 main characters, and 20 reoccurring. A main character is someone who's generally all the time. Reoccurring is someone who pops in and out and is casted consistently, okay? So there has been over 18,000 straight characters. There's been about 383, gay or lesbian characters. There have been 95 dead or lesbian TV characters. 76%, 76 of them are still in the air, and 30 of them get happy endings. Okay, basically at the end of the day, 148 since 1976 lesbians have been killed off. 31% of them are most likely going to die out of these over 1,000 shows that have been done. And I will give you guys, a breakdown. I mean, there's even a breakdown on the orientation of the character and how it was relevant, and it's at 52%, which seems to be a little weird, okay? So let's move beyond the numbers, and let's talk about why this is problematic. I'm going to first mention that that there are spoilers in this show, so let's discuss it. For those of you who like Person of Interest, we have roughly, what was it? We had Jim Caviezel as John Reese. We had Harold Finch, Taraji P. as Carter. We had Fusco. We had Amy Acker eventually as Root. And then we have Samin. Eventually, at one point, we kill off Carter. Okay? So she was our one woman, straight woman of color on the show. She gets killed. That leaves, Finch, Fusco, and Reese, okay? The next character to be killed off is none of the straight male characters, though it's kind of implied once or twice that they might die. But the one that actually does die is Root, okay? They kill off a gay, queer woman, okay? Around the same time that she reunites, within an episode after reuniting with the woman she has a connection with, that's Shaw. So, okay, here's the question. Only till the very end of the show do any of the male characters actually die that have exact specific importance. Okay, the two main male characters are Reese and Finch. Okay? Root didn't, until the last few seasons, didn't have remotely equal importance. She was an antagonist and a person who popped in and out working for the machine. She was a reoccurring character. She did not become a main character until later on. So she really didn't have equal importance. That's why it's a big deal that we have this notion of anyone can die. Well, if anyone can die, that means your main characters. It's not just your reoccurring characters. It's not just your peripheral characters. It is the characters that you stick front and center on your media. Okay? Alright, so barrier gaze has become more and more prevalent over the last few years, and it's actually been gaining more attention, mostly because the character Lexa on The 100, but was compounded even further with the ending of Orange is the New Black. Now, for those of you who have been watching this show, we know that the character Poussey has had a very long, kind of painful situation. She's tried to find someone she can connect with, and in the previous season she did. That was Brooke. And they had this big story about how, Brooke and Poussey forming their relationship, getting to know each other, and actually, being a stable relationship, which is not something we often see in these shows. I mean, really, do I even have to look at CW and mention illicity as a thing? So anyway, at the very end of the show, she dies. She gets suffocated by a prison guard. And I understand that this might have been some kind of attempt to make a commentary on the Black Lives Matter movement and the treatment of POC by police and authority figures. But especially in a day and age where we still have people, specifically queer women being attacked, being, constantly questioned. I mean, we talked about this in the Choose Your Side video about how bisexual girls are treated. So this was not the time to make this commentary, especially with a majority of the actual writing group being white. And then we've already discussed this, that a lot of these writing groups are white. So when this occurred, it just became another aspect added onto this already vocal movement. So the fans really do deserve better at this moment. Let's talk about The 100. So this is the one that really ignited everybody and has been kind of the fandom push. But basically, in Season 2, we were introduced to this woman who is played by Alicia Denham, who basically was the leader of this group called the Kongeda, these 12 clans. So this is kind of like a Fallout, for those of you who don't know, Fallout post-apocalyptic thing. A bunch of people come down from space station, and they're fighting to defeat this evil mountain that steals people and uses their blood. And the leader of one of the factions, of this multiple national faction, is this young girl who's pretty dang good at sword fighting, who's an absolutely badass warlord, is right up there with, with Jon Snow and, Cersei Lannister. I would say she's more of a Brienne or a Yara, a Brienne of Tarth character, or I would even say she's pretty much like Yara Greyjoy, or Asha Greyjoy is her real name. And effectively, she was a central character. She was the leader of the nation, and then just out of the blue, she also gets connected with another main character who's the leader of these delinquents, the 100 in the name of the show. They fall in love, and there's kind of back and forth, and then the very instant that they finally do their whole, well, we're going to actually consummate it, she's shot. So this was a reoccurring character that was killed. Okay? The other major deaths in this series, none of the main characters die. None of the actual main front center characters die, except for, actually, no, none of them die. I would not consider Pike a main character. He was a character that popped up for a season, and then he was in and out, so he was a reoccurring. He was not of equal importance. So the Lexa thing was a problem because, and I'll find you guys the evidence, but previously this was just, young girls, especially who were gay or bi, they were kind of used to this. I mean, if you're in the queer community, you kind of expect people not in the community to kind of take you seriously right now. Even though, we have, equality in marriage and a few other things, there's still a lot of problems here. I mean, let's not even get started about the amount of trans women who have been murdered this year. So we're dealing with something that's outright problematic. So we finally get someone actively who is powerful, leads the nation. She's not a secondary character in the notion of that she has no power. This is a woman who has her own agency, that can command armies, that can throw a spear 100 yards and impale someone dead center. So this is someone with significant skill and is just plain badass. And she's killed. Lexa's death specifically happens right after she consummates the love with her, this woman she's been having a very, tenuous relationship with. That's Clark, another of pretty much the central character of the entire series. So, and then after that, I want to make a point here that we get a lot of aspects that kind of downplay of how good Lexa is. We meet another character who says, I was better, and she just walks away, just kind of randomly saying, oh, I'm not going to kill people because I think it's bad to kill people, even though there's a genocidal AI out there. And then a lot of the interaction about Lexa is about, it happens momentarily, and it's mostly done in reference towards the chip. So, in a lot of ways, the character's greatness and her impact on the world is erased. So that makes the death even worse. This would be the equivalent of Lord of the Rings killing off Frodo or Aragorn midway through the series, and the impact of what they've done is completely removed because, Boromir was more awesome, or Samwise was more awesome. I mean, imagine if Gandalf never came back, or if Boromir's death didn't have the effect on his father that it had. I'm using these specifically because these are, these are the ones I jumped to, but I want to do them because these characters are specifically straight, they are male, and they are white. And these are major characters that have influenced writing for the past almost nearly 100 years. So this is why it's problematic, and even more so that there's a higher percentage. Remember, only about 10% of these women are walking away happy. I'm not saying all these girls need to walk away happy, but if they're dying at a higher level than the front center male characters, there is a problem. And if their pain is being downplayed for the pain of a male character like Bellamy, who goes and commits genocide, and we're supposed to feel sorry for him when he continuously argues against it, there's something wrong about the writing there. There is something to question about why was this done. The unrequited love thing is fantastic, but why is this the first go-to? What we're doing here, when you have unrequited love in a storyline, you are creating a motivation and a sense of tension. You're giving your character a motivation to complete or to deal with a relationship. Why do heroes always go after the damsel? Why do a lot of our early story? Because the whole point is it's the story of the bad guy being thwarted and the good guy saving the damsel. He gets a reward, blah, blah, blah. Or in the case of Samus, it's she blows things up and gets paid. So the whole point here is we're creating tension for the story. When we take a character and attach love for them, when we do this for any other person, we call it fridging. When you kill off a character, you render them as nothing more than a plot device. Okay? It's like Luke in Star Force Awakens. He was a MacGuffin. Everybody was looking for Luke. He pops up, and that's all he does. When we kill off Lexa in such a manner, we go, oh, anyone can die. Well, then why isn't Bellamy dead? Why isn't Jasper dead? Why aren't these other male characters dead? Specifically, why aren't the white male characters dead? We did kill off one male character from the arc, but he was a black guy. So again, the Bellamy character is played by I believe he is a man of color. But the same point is, we're not killing off the straight characters. We're not killing off the straight male characters as often as we're killing off the gay characters. So there is something problematic there. And when it's done, it's often done in this unrequited motivational love, the pain and the angst. And it's like, guys, we get it. You love the lame. You have to justify your character's existence with relationships, which in and of itself is lazy writing. To quickly note, 74 to 80% of the guys who run these shows, the executives and the showrunners, this is a white boys, old boys club, guys. These are people who do not have generally the sense of growing up poor. If they do, then, good for them. But they're not people of color. They're generally not gay. Even then, they're men, so they don't have the facts such as 1 in 5 women on campus will be raped. That is just not a fact that you don't deal with. There are still a lack of rights and a lot of other problems that are occurring for certain minorities and marginalized parts of the population. So when they kill off a character and say, no, it wasn't barrier gaze, all you're doing is basically going, fuck you, fanbase. I'm more knowledgeable than you. So, and when you think about the numbers, 148 women killed on only 193 shows out of 1,500. Do we not see a problem with that? Now, a few people might say, well, what about all the straight characters getting killed off? Well, I don't have all the straight characters, and that would be comparable if there were more queer people in shows. If we had 1,000+ shows roughly equal to the actual shows since 1976, and we had a rough number of people who were straight being killed compared to people who were gay and queer, then it would be remotely comparable. It's like saying, how I put this, it's silly to say that anyone can die, and then at the end of the day, you look at person of interest and you finally kill off the one straight guy the entire series, and you've killed off 2 women. Or you have to take 5+ episodes to kill off a villain after he's, Ramsay Bolton. I know I'm jumping here, but I'm kind of making a point. You don't get to claim anyone can die and act like, no, it wasn't a bad trope when you commit the trope. Okay? That is plain and simple. Okay? So now let's talk about what this did. After they killed Lexa, and let's not even mention the fact that there is evidence that shows that members of the writing team actually went on to gay, fan groups and forums and talked to them about this, that it was not problematic. Okay? And let's not talk about the fact that it will scare the executive producers. Well, that's their problem. What this did in general is it created something called the Lexa Pledge, and I have it here. Okay, I'm going to read off to you. First, we will ensure that any significant or reoccurring LGBTQ characters we introduce to be a new existing stories will have significant storylines with meaningful arcs. This means that if we're going to introduce a character, they will have equal time. All right? They're not just there to be interesting. They're there to contribute to the story, and their story will matter. Okay? It's not just a half-ass motivation for another main character. Okay, guys? When creating arcs for these significant or recurring characters, we will consort sources within the LGBT community, like queer writers or producers on staff or members of queer advocacy. For those of you saying, well, what about lacking creativity? People in books, in shows, and everything. Marketing already does this. It's called a focus group. It's called customer insight. I can tell you for a fact, as a publishing student, that Penguin Books has a customer insight group. And one reason they sell a lot of their books so well when it comes to young adults is because they actively went out and started learning what their fandom wanted. So this notion that creators act outside of the fandom is incorrect. Should creativity be controlled by the fandom? I would disagree. But should creators be actively listening to their fans and understanding that they are here to deliver something that is fun and enjoyable and entertaining and thought-provoking? Yes, okay? It's a symbiotic thing, okay? We can't make our money without fans, and we can't just go around pissing everybody off. If you want to do that, you won't make the money, okay? At the end of the day, to create your stuff, you need patrons. So you have to kind of listen to them. You don't have to be beholden to them, but you should listen. So let's go on to the rest of this. We recognize, number 3, that the LGBT community is underrepresented. Remember, 193 to 1,500 plus shows. Okay, guys? On television, and as such, the deaths of queer characters have a deep psychological ramification. This is in the wake of the Orlando shooting of all these young trans women who are being killed. We still have problems with queer people dying. So, when you kill people off, it has a massive effect on young children. Okay, there's still bullying problems. This isn't just, give everybody a trophy. There are serious psychological complexes created in our society by how we treat certain people. They don't feel safe. So when they see those characters, they latch onto them. And when you kill them off and go, well, it's not bury your gays, I guess I'm trying to be posh there, then you're just being an asshat. Let's be honest. That's just asshattery. Okay? 4. We refuse to kill a queer character solely to further the plot of a straight one. Be honest, this won't matter when we have better equality, but right now it does matter. If your first inclination in a story is to kill off a person who is not white and is not straight in your story, and a majority of your cast is white and straight, stop and think about it. And if the death is just a motivation to push them somewhere, or to provide tension, or to open something up, as I once heard a TV provider say about turning a gay man straight, not kidding you, I was at the London Book Fair and I heard a guy say that. And this guy was a major producer from, British television. There's something wrong with that attitude, okay? It's a lack of integrity. And I hate to attack the television like this, but it is an utter lack of integrity to have that attitude. And this is why the pledge exists. Number 6, we promise to never bait or mislead fans. When you go on social media and you go, oh, they might be together, that's baiting. Okay, there's nothing wrong with teasing people on a level. But specifically, again, we're talking about people who who not only have psychological problems, but these psychological problems are created by a society that still discriminates and has problems with them, okay? We had Congress recently try to slip in and has slipped in a bill that will let contractors discriminate against gays and women. And that will also affect women who are single or have children out of wedlock. So guys, these acts have massive, massive ramifications across society. It's not just they're whining or complaining. There's actual reasons why this exists, okay? So after they killed Lexa, they raised over $10,000 for the Trevor Project, and they've used it as a means to better things. And that's why this pledge exists. And number 7 is we know there's a long road ahead of us to ensure the queer community is properly and fairly represented on TV, and we pledge to begin that journey today. So this is something that occurred, and it has left a massive ramification. How do I put it? It had it to a point where a show recently on, and one that a lot of young gays, gays, bisexuals, queers are attracted to, Winona Earp, They thought she killed and then she was saved. It was a joke, a deconstruction. It's much like when Ursula Le Guin wrote her series, and in the storyline, the people invading from the barbaric East were primarily pale-skinned individuals. So, it was a deconstruction. It was a subversion of this trope. And I know I've slung a lot of numbers at you, and I've been kind of the angry nerd here, but remember, stories have impact. A king of England once went to the supposed tomb of King Arthur and did a ritual to legitimize himself that way. How many people in ancient Japan have tried to live up to being the story of being related to the kami? How did the stories of Hercules inspire people for hundreds of years? Stories have ramifications. They affect people emotionally. They have resounding action across society. When we commit bad writing, when we commit lazy writing, we don't exist in a vacuum. We exist in a society that is still immature on a level that we must be responsible for what we do as creators, okay? Specifically, I wrote a pledge, and I know I'm kind of self-aggrandizing here, but basically, I said I will introduce gender-expressed and sexually oriented characters that are driven. I will consult people in the LGBT and Mogai communities to make sure representations are fair and do not propagate harmful stereotypes. I will refuse to kill a queer character to instantly further the storyline of a straight cis character. I acknowledge that harmful tropes for queer characters, especially barrier gays, are harmful to the community and LGBTI youth. I will avoid them to end their toxic legacy. I promise to never bait or mislead fans on social media. I understand there is a long road in this world before the proper representation and understanding is reached. I pledge to do all I can during that journey, and it begins today. Okay? At the end of the day, we can only change what we accept. I'm not expecting everybody to jump up on the soapbox with me. But for those of you who are angry at barrier gays and who are just now learning about it, I want you to go out there and stop giving your money to these showrunners who refuse, okay? There are better things out there. Steven Universe is a fantastic, fun show. Wynonna Earp is a fantastic show. There's better out there. And as they do say, it does get better. But we can only change this by refusing money, by giving support to shows that actively meet what we want, okay? This is no longer a period when we can just like a show because it has a queer character in it. This is a period where we like a show where they treat everybody respectfully and write egalitarianly and produce a good story. I would rather see 100 more episodes of The Door, Hard Home, the finale on Wynonna Earp, and everything, season 2 up before episode 7 of season 3 on the 100. More building, more expansion, more intrigue. No more destruction. This is not Michael Bay shit, people. We don't need to blow up the world to tell a good story, okay? At the end of the day, if you have to kill all these characters just to make your story interesting, it's lazy, all right? Well, this has been the umpteenth time I've tried to record this. I hope this is good. I will link all these stats down in the diddly-doo, down in the comments. Please leave comments, guys. Give support, and remember, as the Amazon say, and shush, and we are actively on Twitter and Tumblr and Facebook if you want to engage us, okay? Ask questions. Have a good day. Bye.